Not gonna lie to you guys, pretty happy I have the majority of the Guardians of the Galaxy 3 movie pups right here for the review. Oh, you think someone's missing? You're not looking hard enough.
I've mastered the ability of standing so incredibly still that I've become invisible to the eye. Watch.
I did forget the most important pop, though. Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's start this review. So with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, we follow our favorite band of misfits once again, this time finding themselves on a very important and time-sensitive mission to find the High Evolutionary, as he holds some very important information that the team desperately needs. That's all pretty much not gonna be spoilers to you guys. This will be a spoiler-free review. Guardians of the Galaxy 3, man. We have made it to the end of the line of the trilogy with these Guardians here, and we can all still think back to that time when the first Guardians film was released. I remember seeing all the internet buzz thinking it was going to be Marvel's first flop. Even I had my doubts and reservations seeing the artwork for the first time, not having a clue in the world why Marvel would want to introduce these guys, and then being completely blown away by that first movie. It still holds up to this day as one of the better solo entries in the MCU, with the second film, although not loving it as much, I still really like that movie. So of course with this third film, I have pretty high expectations. I think James Gunn is a terrific filmmaker. I have yet to see a movie that he's directed and written that I've been very disappointed by. I always end up walking out of his films pretty happy and enjoying what I just witnessed. And in this current time of being an MCU fan, people are looking at these movies under a microscope, just wanting to relive that feeling they would get when they would watch some of the earlier films. Because a lot of what's been coming out in the MCU lately has been hit or miss, and I kind of agree with that. So having watched Guardians of the Galaxy 3, this has got to be one of the first times I walked out of a James Gunn movie with extreme sadness and an overwhelming amount of joy at the exact same time. This movie, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, it kind of broke me. It left me shattered with emotions. I firmly believe that Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is one of the most emotionally powerful films that the MCU has ever made. To me, James Gunn has knocked it out of the park once again in delivering a movie that not only makes me laugh hysterically at so many sequences. The humor in here is some that I've missed in the MCU for a long time, because I don't mind my Marvel movies being funny, but I like them to be balanced, or at least every joke to be clever in a way that I feel like at least some thought went into that joke. And of course, not every joke does land with me. There are a few times where I thought maybe it went overboard and it was starting to show some of that Marvel over-exaggerated humor, but it was only in slight sliver moments. For the majority of the time, this film had me cracking the heck up. I also think in this film, the team dynamic between the Guardians is the best it's ever been in out of any of their appearances. This is the film where everything James Gunn has been building towards is finally realized and appreciated. They're not always working together in such a perfect unison manner. They are a family in a way, and family sometimes bickers and fights in the middle of a mission. And a lot of that dynamic I found to work really well in the movie. I also love how every core Guardian member gets a moment to shine. Not just one time, but multiple times. Like, I thought there were moments in here where Mantis was a huge standout. Then Nebula goes and does something that I'm like, whoa, that was fantastic. Same for Drax, Groot, and Star-Lord in here. Even some of the side characters also get some riveting fun moments that'll get you cheering, particularly like Cosmo the dog and Kraglin. They had a couple of fun moments I smiled at. I know there's people looking forward to Adam Warlock, and we're going to be talking about him in the later half of this video, but I gotta admit he also had some standout moments. But at the end of the day, like I said, this is a movie mainly about the core Guardian members. I remember watching like Guardians of the Galaxy 2 and then being kind of hesitant with the idea of like Nebula joining the team, even Mantis being introduced there, and I was like, really, we're just gonna start adding them onto the team? Is this ensemble even gonna work? Do they even bring anything to the team? And with this third film, it just fully realizes the vision James Gunn had for how this team could work together and pretty much accomplish anything. I love that it also just wasn't a situation of like, you know, Groot and Rocket are always a team pair within the team, and then you'll have maybe like Drax and Mantis going off and doing their fun little things similar to what we saw in the holiday special. You'll get those individual group moments, but even then, each member has a one-on-one with another member, has a fight or a heart-to-heart that really makes you feel like this is a united team and not just a bunch of other little friends all grouped up into one team. But there's definitely one member I have yet to talk about, and it's for good reason, because they are the MVP of this movie, Rocket Raccoon, man. If it wasn't obvious by the marketing of this movie and Rocket getting like 3 different character posters just to himself, then you should know that Rocket is essentially the main focus of this movie. A lot of the film is hinged on what he means to the team and showing us a lot of where he came from, how he became this super high intelligent raccoon. And the bits of flashback that you'll get about Rocket's backstory all throughout the movie, because it's shown in these little bursts, every time we're cutting back to a Rocket Raccoon scene, it was hard to handle. So much so that this has to be one of the darkest MCU films out there, and I'm not even saying this one lightly. Genuinely, I was shocked by some of the imagery in this movie. It had me taken aback, and just from what I was witnessing on screen, teary-eyed. This is an origin and a backstory that's been building up for so long in the MCU. We get little hints of it in the first Guardian movie when Star-Lord is staring at the back of Rocket, or Rocket is drunk at a bar and is yelling at Drax. And then finally getting to witness those elements of what made Rocket the way he is today was just extremely heartbreaking to witness. When getting onto the villain in here, the High Evolutionary, I have never viscerally hated a villain more in the MCU than I have this man. And I mean that in a very positive manner towards the film, because actor Chikuri Ouji was phenomenal in this role. He really brought such a great performance and extreme range with it. You know, there was times where it was kind of a one-dimensional villain in terms of just having one motive, sticking to it, being evil kind of for the sake of evil. They were still a villain with such interesting and fascinating concepts that this movie was able to explore. There are underlying themes in Guardians of the Galaxy about what it means, you know, to play God, to create a perfect society, to maybe then create something that could surpass you in intelligence. And all of that in the movie, I was completely blown away by. This has to be my favorite Guardian villain out of all the movies, not just for the concepts they were able to explore in this film, but again, for just how much you will grow to hate this villain as the time goes on in this film. Now, before I jump into some of the things I'm mixed and negative about, other things I quickly want to praise about the film, of course, James Gunn knows how to do a soundtrack. Really enjoyed the music choices in here, especially the last song. Also a giant fan of the action sequences in here. You can tell James Gunn just has a real eye of how he wants these Guardians to be portrayed in a team effort. There's this one long corridor shot of all the Guardians just going after a group of people, and I could just watch that scene over and over. The mix of CGI and practical effects aliens in here I also really loved. You know, you're gonna have some alien creatures that are just completely digitized, but there's other ones in actual makeup and prosthetics that look phenomenal. Even on that same topic, this is a Guardians film where a lot of the alien tech in here felt interesting and fun. The MCU has gotten into this weird place where everything is just nanotech. If you want a sword, nanotech. If you want a gun, nanotech. If you want to put on a mask, nanotech. It's like that's the only inventive thing they can do, but here James Gunn does a lot of fun and very different technology explored here. But okay, jumping into my things now that I'm mixed to negative about, because although I love this movie, I think it is an amazing end to the trilogy, not everyone is gonna love the ending of this movie. When I do my spoiler review, once the movie comes out, I'll definitely further elaborate my thoughts on why I think this was a great ending, but I thought the way they decided to close off the chapter for the Guardians was beautiful, was great. But I definitely know it's gonna be an ending that's gonna have a lot of people maybe scratching their heads or going, that's how you decide to end these movies? Another one in here, Adam Warlock. Look, Will Poulter does a great job in the role. The man beefed up and I am jealous. But I think any fan who was really looking forward to Adam Warlock after he was teased in the post-credits of the second Guardians movie might come out disappointed with his involvement in the movie. He very much feels like an afterthought, like almost a side character that you could completely remove from this movie and there won't be much of a difference. But his introduction into the movie was great. He shows a lot of power, he shows a big threat, Guardians struggle to fight him. I was like, oh man, I can't wait to see more of him. And as the movie progresses, he's just in it less and less and less, to the point there was like one scene in the movie he shows back up after being gone for like, I don't know, 20-30 minutes, and I had to say to myself, oh, Adam Warlock's still in this movie. I completely forgot. Which is connected to like another negative I have about this movie. It's juggling so many characters. The team has gotten so big and there's so many other side characters on nowhere, from like Kraglin, Cosmo, that at times you can feel the film kind of suffer with trying to juggle everyone's moments of screen time. I'll still say like the core Guardian members, which is all we should really care about, get their due diligence, but a lot of the other people they try to fit in here just sometimes bloats the film. But the biggest negative things I've been seeing talked about with Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which to me is kind of shocking me with the reactions, is how dark this movie can get and how it's not as fun or lighthearted as some of the previous Guardians installments. Now, of course, everyone's entitled to their opinion and how they perceive a film, but I thought A lot of the dark and serious moments in here is what made this film so powerful, and it feels so needed in the MCU. I enjoy my good fun, just straight up entertaining Marvel films, but I love when they can pull something like this that really just hits you like a punch to the gut. But there's even a side of me that can understand why some people just didn't enjoy the dark aspects of the movie, because they can be a bit triggering, you know, especially if you're like a pet or animal lover in here. There's imagery in the film that you're just like, just looking at it will make you want to cry. And it was stuff like that I was not expecting to witness in here, because there's one scene in this movie that is like one of the best, most powerful, emotional moments ever in an MCU movie. To me, it rivals the Tony Stark death scene from Endgame in terms of just the emotions it was able to pull out of me. But it's also such a violent and surprisingly bloody moment. I love this movie so much, I definitely want to see it again, but there is a part of me that doesn't know if I'm emotionally wanting to go through that scene again because of just how hard it hits. And to me, that's a huge positive, and I love that the MCU was letting James Gunn go through with that, but to some people, it's going to be shockingly dark and almost feel too brutal. So it really just will come down to a personal preference on how you feel about those subjects. But to me, like I said, I really love this movie. I think it is top tier Marvel. It is a movie that I've been missing in the MCU that gets me to laugh, cry, feel emotions, and just walk out of the film with that high that I just saw a fantastic movie. And even like waking up the next day after having seen the film, those emotions still linger on. So with Guardians of the Galaxy 3, I'm gonna give action 4 stars in here. I love the action sequences. So many wonderful moments in between the Guardians, each having their own ability to become useful within the team, and when they're all joined together for that one long hallway scene, loved it. Commenting the movie, I'm also gonna give it 4 stars. This is the MCU humor I've been missing. Just actual effort put into jokes. Yeah, there were like 1 or 2 times I thought maybe it went overboard, but still I found myself laughing a lot. Drama in the movie, I'm also gonna give it 4 stars. I loved the story they pulled off here. The themes about creating, and what this villain does is playing God, and then also the themes involved with Rocket and like experimenting. Even just the arcs individual Guardian members go through. I didn't even talk about the Star-Lord and Gamora relationship in here. I thought they handled that really well, and where they end that story off, I was satisfied with. Horror in the film, I'm gonna give it 2.5 stars. For Marvel, there are some shocking images in here. There are violent moments I was not expecting to see. To me, it only makes the film that much more powerful and emotionally rich, but to some, it might be hard to watch and even make you second guess wanting to see it a second time. Suspense the movie, I'm gonna give it 3.5 stars. With this being the final Guardian film, we're all thinking in the back of our minds, one or multiple of these Guardians could end up in coffins by the end, and just having that thought in your mind as the movie plays out, you just worry for every time a Guardian member gets in danger. Casual fans, I'm gonna give it a B-, a lot because of those dark moments that I don't think people will be expecting. Cinephiles, I'm gonna give it an A-, and critically, I'm going to give it a B+. For Guardians of the Galaxy 3, I think this is one you should definitely add to your collection at home.
That's a keeper. Yes.
I know it sounded like it might have been a 3C guarantee for me, but I can't just guarantee everyone's gonna love everything about this movie. But that's what I love about it. It takes so many bold decisions that we just don't see the MCU take that much anymore. Paired up with some of the dark moments and how the film decides to end the Guardians story, there's gonna be some fans slightly let down, but I think at the end of the day, you have to agree, this is a great Marvel movie. We'll definitely be talking more about it. There are 2 post-credit scenes in the movie. I think both of them are worth watching, but we'll get into a lot more details once the film's released and I'll do a spoiler review. But until then, guys, thank you for watching. Don't be forgetting to hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Follow me on Twitter at 3C Films or on TikTok at 3C Films. But as always, I'm Chris. Take care.